Hello, welcome to the Pedestal Wife Society. My name is Braille, and today we're going to talk about stop dreaming. Wealthy men aren't after love. So, before I get started, I want to make sure that you can see and hear me. So, if you're in the chat, please let me know. Even if I'm talking, please let me know that you can see and hear me because I don't want to continue the conversation and then find out later that no one could hear or see me. So let's jump right on into it. One of the things that I have realized being on social media for over 5 years, I'm able to tell if a woman actually dating wealthy and well off men. And I'm going to tell you how I know that. I'm going to let you into my secret because women need to have an understanding of these things, especially if you're trying to date and marry and be well off. And especially from the pedestal community, where I'm always talking about, I want my women to be filthy rich. I want my women to marry well. So I need you to know what I know. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about that men of different social classes seek out different things in relationships. And you need to know what those things are. So, hey, Blessing. Hey, Daisy. Make sure you can see and hear me. Can you? I'm just going to take it as though you can because I'm not seeing any comments that says other. So, when it comes down to it, first of all, let's break down social class. I'm going to make mine very simple. I don't want to make it difficult. I really want to make it simple, especially with this conversation. So we're going to deal with a social class that I'm going to put before you. And what I mean by that, we're going to talk about upper class, middle class, and poor. Simple, right? So let's talk about since these men in these different classes are all seeking different things and what that means. Okay. First of all, men that are poor and of the middle class, they are seeking the same things. Men who are in the upper class, they're seeking something different. And the reason they're seeking something different is because they have a different perspective that money brings to you. And yes, I am referring to, when I talk about social class, I'm only going to be referring to finances. I am not going to complicate it by talking about education, family, or any other topic because I do not want people to place themselves in those spaces, in those systems where they do not qualify. So I am talking about finances, I am talking about money, and I am telling you that men of different classes seek out different things in women. First of all, men who are poor or middle class, they seek loyalty, love, and survival. Men who are of the upper class, they seek connection, values, and independence. So let's break that down a little further. The reason that men of poor and middle class seek out loyalty because you have to be loyal to the couple. You have to be loyal to the cause. You have to be loyal to the dream that they have, the purpose or the plan. And love, when it comes to love and men in that class seeking love, women also in that class seek love, but they are speaking two different languages. So let me explain what I'm talking about when I say they're speaking two different languages. And that if you are in this class, you might, if you have that mentality or mindset that you're seeking love to be understood, to unconditional love, to be seen, to be a person that is cared for. But when you're dealing with men that are poor or of the middle class, they are looking at love as service. What do you bring? Does that sound familiar? Why do you think these conversations of what do you bring to the table have become very popular? Because these men are speaking from the social class of poor or middle class. And that's the language of men in that class. They think of love as service. What do you bring? What can you do for me? How can you make or add to my resources? So their love, their idea of love is service. And the idea of women who are the poor and middle class, their idea of love is unconditional. So these two people are actually speaking a different language. But that is what a man is referring to, what he's seeking when he's poor or of the middle class. Survival. And this is very important because both of the men and women who are of that class, and they are absolutely speaking the same language when it comes to survival. Survival is more along the lines of pooling resources, of two incomes, of building together, I'm hoping these things are hitting home and it sounds very familiar. This is the reason why I said that if you really want to know the class of the person that you're engaging with or interacting with, in which I am planning on doing a video where I'm going to be talking about vetting classes and what you need to be interested in when you're vetting or you're interested in dating either men in these classes because they're looking for something different, and the signs that will have if the things that you want also align. Okay. But men that are of the poor or middle class, they're seeking the same thing. They seek loyalty, love, and survival. And survival is all about pouring resources together, building. What do you bring? What do I bring? How can we become better? How can we take what we have and move up to another financial level? That is what the survival is all about. And so, this is the reason also why when you hear the conversation surrounding independence, remember, I just said that men of upper class, they respect or seek out independence in women. Why? Because independence for women, for them, means something different. It means that they're looking for someone who has their own dreams, purpose, and someone who isn't clingy, who has their own thing going on. But when you hear men who are of the poor or middle class, the very first thing they talk about is what? That independence is something that they do not like in women, because that is not something they seek in women, because independence goes against the survival of the couple. And this is not just information that I have received from my own personal experience, because I've touched every socioeconomic level. I've started from the bottom, literally. I've been dirt poor. So I understand and have evolved from my own perspective of what to seek out and what I'm supposed to be looking for in people that I want to surround myself. And these are the things I've learned coming from the bottom and moving up in socioeconomic level, which is just social class. Moving up in social class, these are the things I have observed. These are the things I have had personal conversations with men of these classes, and realizing that they are seeking something different. And then when you come on social media, you would think that they are all seeking the same thing, not understanding that plays a part in the type of romantic relationships that these men seek and what they're seeking from a partner, from a person that they want to live their lives with. And so when it comes to men who are poor or middle class, they're literally seeking and speaking the same language. Now, there is a rare middle class man that is seeking the same things, but he applies these things differently and he's a little bit more open about these things than the majority of men that are poor or of the middle class. And what does that look like? Survival. Okay. There are some men who are in the middle class, and these men are rare. So, I want to make you aware that these men are rare. These men they're becoming less and less available, by the way. So, these men that are rare, that they're seeking the same things that most poor and middle class men are seeking, but they just apply and they're more open with the person that they're going to live their life with, especially when it comes to survival. They may go into relationships being okay with being in a state of survival, and it being okay that the person that they are with is not going to bring anything to the resources. They may be okay surviving on their own, but they are rare and they're becoming limited. I'm going to say with social media, with the lack of family, with the lack of socialization within men, that these men are becoming rare. They used to be the type of men that women would marry, because these men they were willing to bend, and they were basically very open about the things that they sought, even if it was somewhat similar, but they applied it differently. But they're rare, they're limited. So I'm not saying go out here and seek out one of those men, because they're becoming a rare find, but they do exist or did exist in plenty at one point, where they sought out love, and they understood that the women that they were seeking out saw love differently, and they tried to fulfill that woman's desires by being there as much as he could when it came to love. And also survival. He knew he was going to be in a state of survival by himself. He knew he didn't have a partner in being in that state of survival, because that is what men who are poor or in middle class, they seek out people that, well, women, they seek out women who are okay with building and combining resources and being in survival together until they are not. Okay. And Blessed said, we can see you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, babe. So true. So true. Absolutely. Men in different social classes are seeking different things, and we have to know what those are. Years ago, I made a statement. I see it. This is what I see. I made a statement. I'll make that statement again. I will always be able to attract and be with high value, high quality men, because once you understand what those men are seeking, and you become master and evolve to have a mindset shift where you have an understanding, you can always energetically be in alignment with those type of men. And so that is what happens when you see women who understand this, and they're able to always date someone who has money. That's the reason why you see women who, like, they had maybe they were married to or in relationship with a millionaire, they can continue to do so, because once you energetically are on that level, you just wash and repeat. But you have to understand that men who are different classes definitely have different things that they're seeking in women. So men who are poor and of the middle class, they're seeking the same type of woman. There's only a rare type of middle class man that is looking for something different. And usually it is to the attune of survival. Maybe he is okay with being the person who brings all the resources. Maybe he's okay with being in a state of survival by himself. Maybe he's okay with knowing that he does not have someone to build with. But like I said, those men are limited, and they're becoming rarer and rarer because of social media, family, and socialization. So now, I also want to make sure that in this video that I drop what I mean when I say that I can always be with a high value, high quality, upper class man, because I not only do I understand exactly what they're looking for, I energetically know how to align to those things, to embody and be those things, so that they are attracted to me. And because I see on social media what I see, I feel like that women are doing too much for wealthy men, when all you have to do is really understand what they're seeking. If you desire one, you desire that type of guy. You want to date the upper class. You want to date the 1%. You want to date the man that's at the top. Then you have to understand what they're seeking. And if you don't understand what they're seeking, and which is very obvious when I come on social media, that a lot of women do not know what the upper class man is seeking, especially when I start to hear so many conversations surrounding wealth and love. And when you go into those type of rooms and you're in that circle, you don't hear any conversations about love, because they have an understanding that love is something that grows and expands. It is not, if you're interested in like instant love or first sight love or whatever it's called, then you would absolutely have a baby. I'm just gonna be honest with you all. I'm trying to make sure that I put it in a way where you just get the point. Like, I don't want to make anything complicated. I want to make it very straightforward and very simple. So when you go out here in the world, and then when you're listening on social media to people who claim or say that they have an understanding about wealthy men, then you would hear certain points being given to you, or certain things that you need to embody in order to attract said man. But if you are out here talking about love, then you are absolutely attracting and more in alignment with a man who's poor or of the middle class, because those men seek out love because they know that women and men are speaking two different languages when it comes to love. Women absolutely are honest and genuine in seeking love. They want someone to see them, understand them, and care for them. Men that are poor and of the middle class, they know that love is service, that is doing, that is action. So they're seeking or requiring that you bring something to the table in order to add to the things that he has currently built or currently has. Love is service to them. And so women who are in the poor or middle class, if you're seeking someone who's very wealthy, then you have to learn how to speak the language. Because when you open up your mouth, we understand that you do not belong. And that is where I want to stop that disconnect. I want to shake up uh, this conversation of when it comes to wealthy men. And I want women who seek out or desire wealthy men to understand not only the language, but I want you to understand the perspective that men that are wealthy has when it comes to certain things that they're expecting from women. And we're going to get there. But I want this to be very clear. So if you have anything to add in the chat or something you do not get or something that's went over your head, don't feel ashamed. I used to be a middle school teacher. I tell every question is important. There's no dumb questions. In this community, there's no dumb questions. You can absolutely ask me, what do I mean? Or explain further, and I will, because you have to understand this. As a woman who's touched every social class level, socioeconomic level, I started from the bottom. I was poor, and I know my mindset had to evolve, and I had to shift and get this understanding. Yes, when I was in that state of poor or being poor, or being of the middle class, yes, absolutely. I paid attention to love. I paid attention to loyalty. I paid attention to things that will help you survive, because that is what men and women who are of that social class pay attention to when it comes to the partners that they desire. And so if you're looking for upper class, wealthy, rich, then you want to pay attention more along the lines of connection, values, and independence. These are things that they're going to pay more attention to because they've already exceeded the things that the people who are poor or of the middle class are seeking. They already are financially stable. They already have, the stability that they desire. So you're not seeking those things. So when I hear you or I see videos for love when it pertains to men seeking that men that have wealth, then I know that you do not have an understanding of what men who have finances are really seeking when it comes to women. And we have to be very clear. And so that's why I'm going to talk about that next. Let's talk about men who are wealthy. And since they seek out connection, values, and independence, how do we energetically embody that thing so that we can attract wealthy men? This is the reason why I will always be able to date or marry, mate, whatever, a upper class man. I will always have one in my life. Yes, I'm currently married to one, but guess what? I'll always be able to obtain one because I understand what they seek in romantic relationships. I understand how to embody that energy that's required for them in order for them to seek me out, not me seek them out, which is a lot of the conversation that you all are having on social media. You're talking about seeking these men out. And honestly, these men, they love the chase. They love the hunt. So they don't care for you to do all of the footwork. Now, of course, if you're seeking a man that is poor or middle class, he doesn't mind if you meet him in the middle. It's all about survival, baby. He don't mind if you meet him in the middle. He don't mind if you do the legwork for the relationship. He doesn't mind those things because they don't have time to focus in on the feminine and masculine dynamic, the polarity, the attraction. If you absolutely pay attention, you will realize that you're not hearing those conversations in more wealthier spaces. And if you're not in wealthier spaces, get in them. Why should you be in wealthier spaces? Because money loves money. The more that I've been in wealthier spaces, the more wealthier I have become because money loves money. Money is attracted to money. And so you need to get in wealthier spaces because in wealthier spaces, some conversations you will never hear. Conversations of struggle, survival, love, uh, not even really, not loyalty either. Because when you're seeking connection, loyalty is a given. So let's talk about it. First of all, what I want to do is absolutely talk from a perspective of these words are spiritual. You all know how I am. In order to get my point across, for you to get the understanding that's required, you need to understand the words have spiritual meaning, and if you understand that spiritual meaning, it's absolutely easier for you to embody that energy so that you can attract the wealthy men that you desire. So first of all, a wealthy man desires connection, right? Connection is oneness. Connection is feeling deeply linked. Connection is unity. All right. The downfall about this, and something I think every woman should be aware of, oneness can absolutely be created with sex. I know. I gotta tell you the truth. I'm not gonna lie to you. With the poor and middle class, they're not truly concerned about connection and oneness as the man who's a more upper class and more wealthier and has finances, has money and has social class. So oneness absolutely in those circles. Connection can be created. Oneness can be created through sex, which also can lead women to have certain experiences with those upper class men, but not have the romantic relationship that the woman desires. That is the downfall of connection. But connection is just you creating a deep link with another person. That feeling of knowing that person, like you've known that person all your life, type of thing. That is the type of connection. That is the type of spiritual meaning that has with the word connection. And if you learn how to create a connection between you and him, where he feels that as though he knows you, and how do you do that? You do that through emotions. You do that through creating emotional support between you two. That is how you create it. I've done so many videos on creating emotional support. I think all those videos might be on Inner Circle, but you may be able to find a stray video on my YouTube. So go and look, and because that's how you're going to create that connection, that feeling of oneness, that connection of deep knowing of each other, that men who are in the upper class or wealthy or have money desire for women. So connection. The next thing is values. All right. Values means deep alignment. That is what it means spiritually, and that is what you have to create. And usually this works out well for women because women go through a process of learning what they value and what is important to them. And this is also going to help make sure that you're able to kind of shift through upper class and wealthy men to make sure you don't land on one that doesn't value the things that you value, that you are absolutely in deep alignment with that person, that if you value family, that other person values family. If you value togetherness, that other person values togetherness. And that is what you want to create in order to be attractive or attracting more men who are wealthy or of the upper class. Independence. The very thing that is almost like a curse word to a man who is poor or of the middle class. Independence, they don't like that in women, but men who are of the upper class or wealthy or have money, they love that in women. They love that woman has a dream, she has a purpose, she has a plan. They just love the fact, I'm just going to sum it up, they just love the fact that you're not clingy. They love the fact that you have your own thing to do. They love the fact that you're not hanging off of him. They love the fact that you have your own thing going on to the point you're not going to interfere with the things that he has going on. If he's making money, you have things that you are achieving in your own life that he doesn't have to worry about what you're doing. And so that is the reason why they seek out independence in women, where men who are poor or of the middle class do not. They don't like independence because independence goes against the survival of the couple. They want men who are poor or of the middle class, they want you to focus on survival. They want you to focus on surviving. They want you to focus on getting this money, getting those resources, building. And if you have your own dream purpose or you have your own thing that you're working on, you're not focused on the survival of the couple. You're not focused on building our resources. You're focused on building yourself. And that's the reason why independence is like a curse word to a man who is poor or of the middle class. Hey, Amber. I like how you linked it to survival. It's true. Survival versus expansion, connection, independence, and expansion is what truly makes life feel rich. Absolutely. Because people who have money have time to absolutely compliment, not compliment. People who have that, They have time to focus on becoming master. They have the time to focus on personal development. They have the time to become better. When you don't have money, you are in that class of being poor or of the middle class, you have to survive. You have to make sure where your next meal is coming from. You have to make sure your bills are paid. You have to make sure that you are doing the things required so that you can move up in class, because that is the goal. Most men's goals is to move up in social class. Okay. I know it may not seem that, but majority of men's goals is trying to move up in social class. This is the reason why once a man moves up in social class and you've been there with him through everything, his perspective will change because his money changed. The outlook that he has on life has changed. That's the reason why now he wants a different type of woman. That's the reason why now he's participating in different hobbies. That's the reason why now he's paying more in the personal development, because he can. He has the ability to now when he didn't have it before. And so this is the reason why it's so important that women understand that with men and the social class that they are currently a part of brings about different requirements from women, different things that they desire from women. A man who's of the upper class, rich, wealthy, has money, has his finances and very stable, he's not seeking out the same thing that the poor in the middle class is seeking. And this is how you can tell them apart. Like, one of the things I've been doing for the last 5 years is I've been watching you all take advice from men where I can identify their class by the things that they say, the things that they put on social media. I've been able to identify their social class, and they are what we have currently is a lot of men who are poor or of the middle class talking about what wealthy men desire when they have not experienced that. And I guarantee you, once they have experienced it, because with money comes clarity, with money comes clarity, and they will begin to speak and say things differently because they are of that class. And I know most people don't like to talk about class because somehow people are always offended. I'm not offended. I look at this thing as this is what it is. And if this is what it is, I need to have conversations about it because it's going to help my Pistol Wife community be able to seek out the desires of their heart. They're going to be able to have the things they want. So I'm going to just be real about it. Like, I can think of I can really think of the evolution of our mindset through different classes since I've touched every one of them. Since I started at the bottom, I was poor. So I understand why poor people, because I was poor, so I was poor also, and why they sought out certain things in romantic relationships versus when a person who has money, who's of the upper class, basically of the 1%, what they would seek out in romantic relationships. They're not the same. Wow, this makes so much sense. I recently, a high earning man who was still in survival, he wanted me to work to supplement his income. He did not support me having my own business. He won't, because high earning does not mean that he's in the class that he desires to be in. If he's still in that mode, and this is probably giving a little bit of insight into what I'm going to talk about when it comes to vetting social class, because you need to know how to vet them. You need to know how to interact with them. You need to know how to identify them. And I'm going to tell you this because I don't know if he's telling the truth about being high earning, because if he is high earning, he would be beyond the need of needing you to supplement his income. He may not be telling the truth of his finances. And that is also a thing that men that are poor or of the middle class tend to do, because they want the quality women. They want the women that they want to date, the same women that the upper class and the men that have money do. That's the reason why they complain so much about those men being able to get women easily, because they want to date those women. They want to date the women that those men can get. What are some common values of wealthy men? So when it comes to values, it's all about shared values. They don't all have a common value. I can't say that every man that's wealthy that you're going to meet is going to be like, oh, I'm family oriented, you're family oriented, let's get together kind of thing. What you have to do when it comes to values is more along the lines, the spiritual meaning of values is deep alignment. So you want to make sure that the man that you choose, the man that if you're seeking out a man who has money, that you have to be in a deep alignment with him. That means if this man is more family oriented, then he's going to seek out and be more attracted to a woman who's family oriented. If this woman is very honest or whatever value that he holds true to him, and that's the reason why vetting is going to come into play when it comes to this, because you have to make sure that since values means deep alignment, that the values that you have also is in alignment with him. And the more that y'all are in alignment, the better the attraction will be, the more he will seek you out, the more he will chase you, the more he will pursue you. So it's not about, hey, all rich men have these values. Any person that says that, I already know they don't know what they're talking about. Because there are some people out there who are very rich and they value being manipulative. So he's gonna want a more manipulative woman. He's gonna want a more sharp, uh, edgy woman versus another man who's actually more family oriented, where he wants more like a woman who's going to be like a homemaker. Like all of them are different. So stop thinking that there's certain values that all wealthy men align to, and think more along the terms of deep alignment. That's what you want to get in your mentality. That's the reason why I say I could always get a man who's of the upper class and who has money, because I understand it's deep alignment. So the first thing I am going to do if I am out here dating, I'm going to make sure that I get with the guy or attract the guy that's in deep alignment with my values, the things that I value, because he's going to be highly attracted to me because we value the same thing. And that goes into alignment with us creating the oneness effect, where we feel like we're one. We feel like we've known each other forever. Like you also is family oriented. I am too. And then we have those conversations about what makes us family oriented, and also that creates that bond that start creating the energy of us feeling like we're one, start creating the energy of us feeling like we know each other all our lives. So that's the reason why I say, so stop thinking there's certain values, because there are rich men out here love that will, they value a woman who's edgy, a woman who is seductive. And there's some men out here who values a woman who's just like more like a homemaker. Since a man has money and he's of that upper class, he can decide what is deep alignment for him. He can decide what is going to be more desirable as far as the things that he values. So there is no common values. And that's how I know that some women have not been around upper class or wealthy or rich men. When they start thinking there's something common, there's nothing common. We're like, men are still human. There's still a diversity, there's still a rainbow of of men, and that rainbow, they all may value or desire something different. So the thing is, in your mindset, since you know he values, and when it comes to value, he wants something that's deep alignment. That's what you need to look for. That is what you need to bring to the relationship. That's what you need to bring forth, so he'll be more attracted to you. You can be high earning but don't have the skills. Your steward the earning energy of money mismanagement is a manifestation of confusion, chaos versus clarity. Okay, yeah, that's absolutely true. You sure can. And which also, because of his mismanagement, me personally, I would still say that still puts him in a different class. Because if you make a lot of money and at the end of the day, only thing you can maintain is being poor, you're still in the classification, in the social class of being poor. I that is the way I'm very, like I said, I'm very straightforward. I don't care if you make $200,000 or $300,000 a year. If you can't keep any of that money and you always end up being broke, you are in the poor class. You're still there. That's where you are. And that's where I would classify you are. And that's the reason why I said that just because you're high earning doesn't mean you're a part of that class. Can you talk about how to distinguish between the two and hidden things that might be overlooked? I feel duped, LOL. Well, what do you clarify? I need you to clarify on that question. What do you mean distinguish? Are you talking about between a poor middle class man versus an upper class man? Like, what do you want me to distinguish between the two? Because when it comes down to it, they're seeking different things. They're seeking different types of romantic relationships. Most like us as women, we love and we love hard. We love in a way that's very genuine and honest. But when it comes to men in different classes, that's not, they don't see love in the same way that we do. And so let me like clarify your question so I can make sure that I answer it the best of my ability. And then make sure you all don't go into vetting because I want to really talk about vetting social class. I don't want to do that in this video and then I won't have to, then I won't have a video to do when it comes to vetting social class. I really just want to kind of stay on topic and talk about the fact that they are different. And women need to be able to identify those things, and which I want to do a separate video just talking about identifying those things that are separate about those two. But when it comes down to breaking down the things that you need to embody when it comes to wealthy men who are of the upper class, you need to know what they're seeking out. And I want you to realize it is not, since men are human and that they are different and they have different environments and they have been nurtured differently, that these things, instead of looking at as this is what they all do, I need you to look for specific things. And that's what I'm talking about here in this video. So if I embody my values, shouldn't I attract someone with the same ones effortlessly? Okay. But see, that's only a part of the equation, right? So you got to make sure that you are doing what's required to have that mindset shift, that you're not out here seeking love. Because just because, and what I have found mentoring women is that women are very good about embodying their values, of showing up in the world, making sure that their values are on their sleeves. Okay. It's easy to identify the values that women have when they show up in the world. The thing is, are you showing up with the idea of love and seeking love in relationships? Are you out here seeking love or are you seeking connection? Make sure that you're embodying the entire formula and not just part of it. Remember, the poor and middle class, they're seeking love. They're just thinking about love and, uh, you know, unconditional love. That seems to be the term I see all the time on social media is people talking about unconditional love. People talking about they want to be loved without conditions, no matter what, no matter what they do, no matter what they say, no matter what they are. And see, people who are of the upper class, we already recognize that love doesn't operate in that way. And so you can be showing up and embody the values that you currently have, but are you seeking love? Are you out here seeking with your heart? Are you seeking romantic relationship with men with your heart through love, through unconditional love, and wanting someone to see, hear you, and understand you? So make sure that we are embodying the entire formula and not just part of it. And remember, when it comes to values, there still has to be a sense of feeling of deep alignment. Because here's another issue that I have found that I think women need to kind of self reflect to make sure that you're doing this. Make sure that when it comes to values, yes, women are very good at showing up in the world, embodying their values, but making sure that you follow through, making sure you're truly embodying it. And embodying it means that when you value something, you stand on it. You're not waffling on that thing. You're not constantly backing away from that thing, regardless of whatever that value is. If you value honesty, what do you have to be? You have to be honest. You have to show up and embody honesty and be that thing. That is the thing with values. So if you want the deep alignment, he has to be able to see that within you too, not just hear it, because people are very good about regurgitating what they believe in and what they value. But are you showing up in the world as that thing? Like, are you truly embodying that thing? And once you're in that deep alignment and he's seeing that within you, he's seeing that, yes, you value honesty and you are honest. Then there's a deep alignment that happens where he feels as though he knows you. There's a sense of oneness, there's a sense of connection. You're starting the entire formula and it's working its way through. So that's what I need women to do. I need you to self-reflect. I need you to make sure that you reflect on how you're showing up and are you truly embodying the thing that you think that you are? Because it's very easy to get caught up into thinking you're something when you are not. When you are not, because you're not showing up in that way. You're not following through. You're not implying it. So make sure that we are implementing the entire formula. Like the difference between a man who is truly wealthy versus someone who's pretending, I guess. Okay, if a man is pretending, and this goes back into my vetting video that I wanted to do, and I guess there's going to be some crossover because we're not going to be able to help it, I see. But if a person is pretending, listen to the language that they are putting out. The language is a good tell of if a person is a part of a certain class, especially when it comes to men. Especially when it comes to men, okay? If a man is pretending to be something, you're going to hear along the lines that he is seeking out someone who is going to be for the survival, for the struggle. And you're going to be able to identify that thing. He's going to be more along the lines of wanting to put your resources together, build something together. He's going to be against independence. He's not going to be interested in your purpose or dream unless the purpose or dream is of the couple. That means, and usually when it comes to men who are poor or of the middle class, the couple means him, his dream, his purpose, his plan. That's the reason why they don't like independence. That's the reason why they don't desire independence in women. That's the reason why they don't want independence in women, but men who are of the upper class and who has money, they want independence because they don't want you to be clingy. They want you to have your own thing. They're actually more attracted to the woman who has her own thing. Oops, sorry. No problem. I think that what's going to happen is that we're going to probably cross over. And don't worry, I can still make a video. Like, if you haven't noticed, I can talk. I can talk. And these are, like I said before, I am one of these people. This is the most that I talk on social media. This is the most that I talk on my video. So I can talk. I'll still come up with the video. So if we want to do the crossover and we want to talk about vetting these men, let's talk about it. We'll go there. I'll just create a video separate and come from a different perspective on it. But upper class men who have money, they are seeking connection. And the connection is they want to feel one with you. They want to feel connected. They want to feel like they've known you all their lives. They want a deep connection with you. They want to know that we have shared values, which mean the things that you value, that you embody, these are things that they should be attracted to. And that goes back to vetting. If that if that man it has different values or he doesn't have similar values as you should not want to deal with that man, even if he is wealthy, rich, or has money. Okay? Because overall, when it comes to women, we desire contentment, peace, and happiness. And there is a difference, by the way, what women who are upper class versus men who are upper class, they want something totally different. They're speaking two different languages. That's the reason why it's harder for them to get together. And that's where you can come into play. That's the reason why you don't have to absolutely be of that class because women of his class, they're speaking two different languages. They're seeking two different things. Like when it comes down to the upper class man, he's wanting more of a person who has the connection, values, and independence. And the woman who's more of an upper class woman, she's wanting someone who is going to be more, let's see, what's the word? There's a word for it. It's slipping my mind. But she's wanting someone who is more understanding. Okay. So they're seeking two different things. That's the reason why they tend to be like, they pass each other in the night. Upper class men and upper class women, you would think they would be able to connect the most and be with each other the most. But a lot of times they pass each other and they seek out different things because they want different things. They're of different classes, and men and women are different. They desire different things from their romantic partners. But let's get back to upper class men. Connection, emotional support, being able to create an emotional link between you and him. That starts with, and this is the type of information you would have got in the inner circle if you were in the inner circle. Women who are of my inner circle, you already know this, so this is probably just a review for you. But when it comes to creating a connection, a deep link with a man, it is all about creating a space where he can be. Not just where he can be, it also is about creating a space where you all connect. Let's say if I, like for instance, for example, me and my husband, we both had, we have a past history in our childhood where we were raised by our grandmother. So we were able to connect on that. It was like, you were raised by your grandmother? I was raised by my grandmother. And we would talk about certain things that our grandmother shares and the things that they did raising us. And that's how we're able to create. That creates an emotional connection when you have shared history. You have things that happened to both of you that you were able to talk about or have a conversation about. And hint, hint, that's how you can create that connection. Figure out things that you both share. So you can create that oneness, you can create that connection. And this is, like I said, this is diving into my vetting video. But I don't care. I don't care. I'll still come up with something else. It don't matter. So connection. So you want to make sure that you have some connection with a man in upper class, wealth, or money, because that is what he is seeking out in a woman. That is what he's seeking out in a romantic relationship. He wants to feel as though y'all are one, that he's known you forever, that you all have something in common, and that's where the commonalities come into and connection. So have conversation, and when you're having conversation with him and he brings up something that you both share, you really want to have that, you really want to expand on that. So if he said, if it's he was raised by his grandmother, or he was raised by a two-parent home, or maybe he graduated early, or maybe he got his heart broken at 16, figure out the connection, because that connection is going to create that deep alignment. Is going to create that oneness. And so you want to build emotional support, and you want to create those links, those bonds between you two, where he is going to be highly attracted to you. He will seek you out. People like to be around people who have common experiences. It's one of my best it's one of the best things I have when it comes to making connection with other people. I always seek out the things that we have in common. That creates a connection. That creates that emotional support, that emotional link between me and them. And so that's what you want to do. You want to focus on that, because that is their bread and butter. You have to remember, you're not dealing with someone who is in survival or in struggle. You're not dealing with someone who is loyalty, because they understand through connection is loyalty. When you have something in common, you're actually more loyal, because you like this person. When you have a connection with a person, loyalty begins to grow because you have something in common. You're actually going to be a lot more loyal to somebody that you feel that you feel that you have a connection with. So connection is a priority when you're dealing with men who are wealthy, or you want to deal with men who are the upper class. Values, and that is shared values. Shared values bring about deep alignment. If I know that you share the same values, I'm going to be a lot more open. Like if we're having a conversation and we're talking about family, see, I'm highly family oriented. So when I get around someone who has that value, it brings about a deepness, a deep alignment where we can have a true conversation. I don't feel like I have to hide. There's openness to it. Like the conversation is easier once you have shared values. And so you want to make sure that while you're having these conversations, not only are you embodying and showing up in that value that you have determined is very important to you, you want to make sure that you are uh, you are being open in that conversation too. And so connection, values, and independence. This is when it comes to independence, you are to make sure that he has the understanding that you do have dreams, and you have purpose. You have things you're trying to achieve. You have things that you want out of life. Men who are upper class or have money, they are absolutely going to be happy that you do. And they're probably going to be interested in absolutely investing in the things that you want to achieve for yourself. Why would they want to do that? Because of the fact that they know that you're going to have something. Basically, I want you to think along the lines of the wealthy, rich housewife, when she has hobbies and activities that she's doing. Those hobbies and activities keep her busy, where she's focused on that, where she's not in his business. And I'm not saying that they don't have the reasoning behind that. That's a good or bad reasoning. I just want you to be aware that these conversations that you all are having, when you're going into dating men who have money or who are of the upper class, and you're having conversations about having nothing, you're doing nothing, you have nothing, you don't want to be nothing, you don't want to progress in life, you have no dreams, you have no purposes, everything that you have, everything that you are is him. he is not going to be more interested in that type of mentality or mindset versus a man who is poor or of the middle class. That is how you can recognize them. Now, if you're like all about him and all about his dreams, his purpose, his plan, that is going to be more in alignment with the man who's poor or of the middle class, because they don't desire independence in women anyway. Independence is a curse word to them. That's the reason why they create so much content on social media. And what do they speak against? Independence. But for men of upper class or men who have money, they look at it like, she's not gonna be in my business. She's gonna have her own thing. She's gonna be, following her own dreams and purposes. And since that's gonna keep her busy, let me go and invest in that. Let me pour into that for her, so that that's gonna keep her busy and out my way. So I can do the things I need to do. Like I said, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just telling you why they seek the things that they seek and why it's important to them. And the difference is, it is between men who are poor of the middle class and why they don't want that, why they don't desire independence in you, because they don't have use for an independent woman. That goes against survival. The independence thing, I was do LOL. My ex wanted me to not operate my business anymore. Even having a business was always my dream. And he knew this was my dream and he provided, so I gave it up. And see, that's the thing. Men, and let's not, I think we also need to push the conversation forward when we say, I know I'm speaking, when I say social class, I'm literally talking about money. I'm talking about finances. But yes, can you be consciously of the poor class and have money? Absolutely. So we have to push the conversation forward and realize that men who do have money can have a poor consciousness when it comes to what they seek in women. So we have to be aware of that dynamic also. And I'm going to be honest with you about that dynamic. It does exist. Yes, you can have a man who is financially of the upper class and has money, but he has a poor consciousness. So he's seeking out that in women in romantic relationships. So I'm going to be honest. All right, so I'm checking to see if there's any other questions, because I know we're veering into vetting, and that's fine. I can I can have a whole conversation about vetting men of different classes. Poverty mind, absolutely, Daisy, absolutely. Just because a man has financially the finances, he can still have a poverty mind. He can still seek out the same thing that poor and men of middle class seek out in women. And you have to be aware of this, because a poverty mind does not mean well for you as a woman who's growing and evolving. It does not mean well for your own happiness and the lifestyle that you desire for yourself. So you have to be able to recognize these things in men, so you do not get God, so that you do not get um, duped, as Amber said, in romantic relationships with men. But men of different classes require different things from women, and we have to recognize this. And this is also the reason why once they have their finances and they're very stable, they start to look at things evolve and change, and their perspective changes. And their perspective changes with the type of women that they desire, the type of women that they want. And I'm going to be honest with you, the 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 perspective that changes is the true desire of the man. Okay, like I want to be clear of this. When a man becomes or has money, the evolution that happens, the perspective that changes within him, and what he desires from women, it changes. That is the true desire of the man. Okay, so maybe while that man is in struggle or survival, he is maybe not seeking out the type of woman that he wants. So the woman that he is seeking or desiring once he has money, that is the true desire of the man. And that's the reason why a lot of women are very open with not making sure that they only seek out men who are already in the upper class or very wealthy, because they know that they are the true desire of that man. Versus if you seek him out when he's poor or of the middle class, he may be seeking something that is going to help his survival. So the type of woman he's going to seek is going to help his survival. The type of woman he's going to seek is going to help him build those resources so that he can move up in class. Because the goal of every man, regardless of where he is financially, is to move up. And they get very frustrated if they can't. And they will seek out the woman who's going to help them get to the next level. So a lot of women have learned the game and realized, oh, I need to seek out the man that is more upper class and has financial stability, because that man is going to absolutely desire me and it's going to be real. Pardon me, and thank you. I really enjoyed this. You all enjoyed this. I appreciate that because I didn't know how this was going to come off. I didn't know how this was come off. This was like one of those gambles, because when it comes to talking about social class, people get offended very easily, and I am not speaking on it in a way where I'm trying to hurt your feelings. I'm just speaking on it in a way where you're gonna be able to utilize the information I'm giving, the advice that I'm giving, so that you'll be able to identify these men. And then once you identify these men, you can embody the things that these men are desiring or wanting from you, and you can make a decision of what, or you can be able to kind of date those men that are more upper class or have money or are financially stable. Okay. Yeah, I think that's what it was with my situation. He had a poverty mentality and talked about me working as backup for if he lost his income. If you are independent, if you become independent, wouldn't you start becoming the woman who starts seeking understanding, the wealthy woman who starts seeking understanding? What do you mean seeking understanding? Because if you're independent, independence for men who are upper class and who have money, it just means that you have your own thing going on. You absolutely are trying to accomplish your dreams, your purpose, your plan. You're absolutely, a lot of these women have their hobbies and they're trying to work on their business, or they put all their energy into their own purpose and dreams, and then he invests in that thing, whether it is the business or it's a hobby that he's paying for. I have met men of the upper class who they have a housewife and he's paying probably like $2,000-3,000 a month just in hobbies. That means just her going to do tennis and her just doing art, taking art classes. And I found it very interesting that they don't mind independence in a woman. Okay. But when you're talking or speaking to a man who's poor or of middle class, independence seems to be a curse word to them. They don't like that in a woman, because that takes away from the woman pursuing his dreams of purposes. Remember, those men are seeking or are in survival. They're trying to use whatever they can to be able to move up in class, and that means they may use you. So if I didn't answer that, just ask that question down before, and I'll clarify. But then didn't I say that that's the reason why a lot of times men and women that are in the same class tend to be like a ship in the night. They tend not to connect because of the fact they're both seeking something different. They're speaking a different language. Women who are like wealthy are speaking something else. Oh yeah, you mentioned wealthy women and men look for different things. Being independent, would you start looking for understanding because that's what you said she's looking for? Understanding. Okay, when I'm talking about understanding, she's looking for him to respect that she is a moneymaker. Okay, that's the understanding she's looking for. She wants respect. Basically, she wants you to put respect on her name that she's built a career or she's built a business. Okay, that's independence and understanding. Those are two different separate things. That woman who is wealthy or in the upper class, just like him, if she would get the respect that she desires and deserve from her peers, from the people that she works with, the people that she employ, she would be able to embody those things that other upper class men desire too. Being independent is not the issue. Independence is not the issue that these two have. Yes, they're speaking two different languages. It's just that when the woman that is in that position, she is seeking out respect from him. And she basically, I ain't gonna say bow, I don't want to say bow down, but there is a level of respect that she desires or deserves from him that he may not acknowledge or give. And that is the reason why they seem to be ships in the night. That is the reason why a lot of times they don't connect. If you actually was to look at the numbers and realize that a lot of times men tend to marry women of different classes. They tend not to marry women of their class because of that. And it can be tweaked. If women who are upper class desire men who are upper class, some things can be tweaked. She can decide or deserve to get her respect from the people who she employs. Okay. And I'm not saying that she shouldn't be respected. That's something entirely. Usually that's the issue. Women who are upper class or have money, they seek the respect or desire the respect or want the respect acknowledged from the men that they date. And they tend to not drop the need or conversation for that. Okay. So, like I said, it's a two different conversation. I don't know how many women in here who are like upper class or wealthy and they want to date their counterpart. Then maybe we need to do a video where we dive deeper into that. Okay, that's a good idea. We might need to do that for the women who's of this community who want to date their counterpart, but they're not having any success. Maybe I can give you some tips on how you can be successful with them because you can. I don't think you will lose your dignity doing the things I would suggest to do, especially when I think of men, men are free. I think more along the lines of attracting men, not chasing men. So I don't think or try to change who you are. I just want you to know who you are because it's easier for you to attract who you want or attract the desires of your heart when it comes to men when you know who you are. But that is a good topic. I need to write it down because we might need to dive deeper into, yeah, we need to dive deeper into the women who are surrounded by those type of men and what is going to get those men attracted to them. Because yes, those men and women, you would think that they would be each other's options, but they tend to kind of like not be, and that's unfortunate. So hopefully I answered that question. And if you have some more questions, you all know how it is. I will. Okay, I probably got 3 more minutes I can say. So if you have a question, go ahead and drop it down in the comment section. But remember, men who are upper class, men who have money, they seek out women who have connection, values, and independence. These are the things they seek in women. These are the things they desire in women. Men who are poor or of the middle class, they seek the same things. They seek out loyalty, love, and survival. And you will know them by their language. And I want to do another video where I'm talking about specifically vetting them and what language they use so you can identify them. So no longer will you get duped by these men because men of different social classes seek different things in women. And we need to be honest with ourselves. That is what's happening. And that's why the conversation that you're hearing on social media, they now make sense, right? They now make sense. Now you'll be able to identify that a man is of this social class by the language he speaks. So that's what we're going to do in our next video. We're going to talk more along the lines of the language and how to identify and vet these men so that you will no longer get duped or end up with a man that is making or a part of the upper class financially, but then he has a poverty mindset. Because yes, that can happen, and you do see a way with that happening, where you will see men who are of that upper class, but they have that poverty consciousness, that poverty mindset, and they're starting to seek out the same type of women or wanting the same thing from women who are, for they're wanting the same thing that men who are of the poor or middle class. And so you have to identify them so you don't end up marrying one of them. Because I know some women that have married men who have money and they have that mentality. but we'll talk more about that. I'm gonna do a whole nother video. So this is not over. This is literally gonna legit. It's probably gonna be a series for me. I really want to talk about the identifying, vetting, and then I kind of want to talk about why men and women who are of the same class tend to not be with each other when they are really each other's best option, and they are each other's best option, and they end up with someone of a different class because they're both wanting and desiring something different. Because men and women are different. And I think that's what we have to come to terms with. When you start realizing that men and women are different, when men and women see the world differently and they desire things differently out of romantic partners, then it becomes a lot easier for you. And that's the reason why I want to have this conversation. And I think I saw a comment saying that you all kind of like content that's going to go against the grain. And that's what I'm going to be giving you. Okay, because I'm about to really be on social media, just having fun and going against the grain and saying things that I say privately in my workshops and in my inner circle and in my videos that are behind a paywall. I'm gonna start saying those things out loud because I think this will change the game. This will be a game changer for women, and women will be able to date better. And I think you should get that advice from someone who's touched every socioeconomic level, because I've been poor and have money. And I understand the perspective, the evolution of your mindset that happens once you have money. Like I started seeing things differently. And so I'm going to talk about that on the internet. And even if it gives, I expect some pushback, I expect some contention to begin because of this conversation. Yes, a lot of people seem to have a poverty struggle mindset on the internet. They do. Because just because you have money, if you have not done any of the work, and that's the reason why I talk about inner work so much. I talk about, self mastery and going through that process and how it helps you to become the woman that you desire to become. And doing that will absolutely put a different type of man that's going to desire you. And don't do this for just men, okay? Don't do this for men. Do this for you. Do this become the well-rounded woman that you want to become. Do this because this is the desire that you have in your heart to do. Do not do these things for just men. Men will come and go. You are here to stay. You are here to grow and expand and evolve. So don't do it just for men. I don't think I can even stomach doing this type of content if I just do it for men. I have to do it in a way where you're going to get something from it and you're going to grow and evolve from it. Thank goodness I crave that type of content. It helps me the most. I'm glad you love it because that is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be going all summer long, contentious content that's going to put people on edge, that's going to upset people. We're just going to be basic truth tellers over here. We're going to be game changers because we have to talk about class and we can't get offended by it. Looking forward to the vetting video. Absolutely. I'm excited about it, but that's what we're going to be doing coming up next is more along lines of vetting. All right. So thank you, ladies, for being here all the way to the end. I don't see any more comment or questions in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready to close out. I appreciate you, ladies. Thank you. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.